Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a review on the Netflix TV series, Sweet Tooth. So before I head into my thoughts and feelings on the entirety of the TV show Sweet Tooth, just a quick warning, because I feel like hardly anyone has even seen this show, I definitely am not planning on incorporating any type of spoilers in this video. Really what I want to do with this video is to try and push and encourage others to go watch this amazing show. So yeah, definitely no spoilers because I want you to experience the ride for yourselves. So yeah, let's get going. My thoughts and my feelings on Sweet Tooth. If you can't tell, I love this show. So let's get into what this show is all about. As I already kind of stated at the top of this video, Sweet Tooth is a Netflix TV show, had 3 seasons, had 24 episodes. It actually aired first in 2021, recently concluded here in 2024. So yeah, here is the plot. I kind of got some of this from like IMDb, and I kind of condensed the plot summary they had on IMDb. So yeah, set 10 years after a virus has created hybrid babies who are part human, part animal, following a hybrid deer boy who unexpectedly befriends a loner named Jeopard. Together, they travel across in search of this boy's mother, the origins of the virus, and the search for a cure. So yeah, this is a bit of a dystopian type of show to a degree, if you will. And also, another thing, this show is based off of the DC Comics series by Jeff Lemire. And after watching the show, I really need to check out the comics. I've seen a lot of people review the comics, and a lot of people absolutely love the comics. So I'm curious if I would like them as much as I love this show. So other than the fact that I love this show, what is it that I just really in particular enjoy about the show? The show is just so incredible from start to finish. There's so much that's really deep and emotional about it. It's full of heart and emotion and humor, and I think the big core of this show, especially by the time you get to the final season, and then you kind of re-examine everything you've been watching, you know, the whole core of the show is definitely an exploration of humanity and the human condition. It's focused on a world that, you know, 10 years ago, this virus happened. Why? Nobody knows. That's kind of the whole thing of this show, the journey that our main characters are taking. They're trying to figure out the origins of this virus that happened 10 years prior. They're looking for a potential cure, if there even is one, and what that would entail. So the book or the show is really highly focused on characters on all sides of the spectrum. You have your heroes, you have your villains, you have the people in between in like this gray area, which makes the show really compelling there too, you know. It's set in this world where people's morals are truly tested, and characters who are put in these situations that make you question, what would I do? You know, would I rise above a situation? Would I be cowed down by a situation? Would I be a hero? Would I be a villain? Would I be kind of somewhere in between as well? You know, the question is exploring so much when it comes to humanity, when we're put in situations like this where the future of humanity is tested in horrific, wild, insane ways. So even though on the surface this show comes across like it's made for children, in some ways I don't really think it's made for children, even though a huge part of your cast are children. I think it really is kind of speaking more towards adults at times. Your children could watch this show if you're looking for like a family viewing at home. This is definitely a very family-friendly show. There is the occasional amount of cursing going on. Characters do say the S word, the F word pops up occasionally. So yeah, cursing is part of the show at times. But like, as far as like the violence of the show goes, uh, whenever there is violence, there is like no graphic violence. Like, you're not seeing like terrible moments of violence. A lot of the violence sometimes is kind of done off screen and kind of left to your imagination at times. So yeah, it is. It's not like a bloody, gory type of show at all. So I definitely think it's a very family-oriented show, and it can spark a lot of discussions within families and whatnot. So not only is the show about humanity and the human condition, what makes us a human, there's also a lot of commentary as you're kind of going through the show. There's also a big, heavy amount of commentary about the destruction that humans have caused to the earth, essentially. Um, we have turned Earth into a pretty shitty place over time. And so this show is really kind of getting into the extremes of human destruction to nature, and kind of this idea like the virus is a natural way of trying to cause human extinction. Because the way the virus works in this show, as soon as you get it, you're done for. It's kind of like the Black Death, almost, the plague that happened, for centuries over in Europe. It was pretty rare for people to even survive the plague. It's kind of unheard of, practically. So it's kind of the same with how this virus is. It's like the plague tenfold. There's no cure for it. Characters do die off left and right unexpectedly sometimes. Heroes and villains alike. You can just get it without warning. So there's kind of that idea in this show is this virus meant to be nature's way of reclaiming itself. Nature trying to reclaim itself, and that for animals to reclaim the earth and wipe out humanity. Because does humanity deserve redemption? Does humanity deserve a second chance to right the wrongs of the past? So this show is definitely really digging deep into some themes and ideas when it comes to not only humanity but with nature and animals. Seriously, I feel like this show is one of the most underrated shows on Netflix. Like, seriously, nobody watches this show, even though, like, when I'm on Netflix, the show will be trending. You know how there's like a little meter at the bottom of Netflix, and it'd be like the top 10 movies this week, the top 10 TV shows. Sweet Tooth always would be trending. It would be in the top 10, and like really high in the top 10, like number 1, number 2. So at the same time, even though it's trending, I feel like there's still just nobody watching the show, nobody commenting about this show, and it deserves to be a show to be talked about. Instead, all of these channels, like on YouTube, I just feel like everybody always talks about the same shit. It's always Marvel and Star Wars and like nothing else. And this show deserves to be talked about. It deserves a mention. It deserves to be talked about because it's very heavy with its themes and messages, and and it goes to some really emotional places, like both good and bad. There's moments in the show that you're going to be laughing. There's going to be moments where you're crying out of joy, or crying out of fear, or crying out of the fact that someone just freaking died. It's a very highly emotional show. It really gets to you, and it really connects with you. And it's not the most action-packed of shows. I mean, there is a lot of action in it, but it's very much focused on the characters. This is all about the characters and this journey that a lot of these characters are taking together and what they're fighting for. So just to touch on some of your main characters really quickly, to kind of give you an idea of what to expect in this show. Our main character is a little 10-year-old boy. So he was born as the virus happened, because like I said, this virus, when I was giving you guys the plot synopsis, I've not really entirely gone into it. 10 years ago, when the virus hit, anybody who was born during the virus and after the virus, essentially, babies are born as what is called in this world as hybrids. They are born part human and part animal. And I love the special effects design on this show because everything that you see on the show is done very practically, and I love that. There is very minimal CGI going on in the show, and I love that. Everything's just so natural. So all of these kids are born with animal features. So they're like our main character, Gus, who's also called Sweet Tooth, the title of the show. Gus has like a little deer antlers that poke out of his head, and his cute little deer ears. There's like another girl who has like a pig nose. The level of the mutation just kind of depends on characters, because some characters have very physical, obvious differences, you know, but they still have very human appearances. Because, like Gus, for instance, Gus just has the ears and the antlers, but everything else about him is completely entirely human. The same with the little girl who has like a pig nose. She has the pig nose and little pig ears. That's it, you know. So some characters appear very human with kind of slight animal features. But then, like, as you kind of progress through the seasons, there are some kids who are almost entirely animal, and there's barely anything human about them. Like, there's one kid who his entire head is an elephant, and then like from like the neck down, he's human. And then there's even like a character that you're introduced to in season 2. He's really tiny. His name is Bobby. He is the most sweetest, adorable little thing. Like, he is entirely like an animal, like absolutely no human features to him at all. So the level of the mutation is very different. There's the minimal mutations on some kids, the ones that are kind of in between, and then some who are just completely pure animal almost. So I loved the show kind of focusing on that, the different levels of that. And once again, the simplicity and the natural special effects, very minimal CGI going on. But yeah, our main character, Gus, like I said, he's also called Sweet Tooth, played by Christian Convery. Oh my god, this little boy, this is his show. Absolutely. He is the heart and the soul of this show. Gus, as I mentioned, he was born 10 years ago when the virus first started. He has deer-like features. He is just such a sweet character. He's the very essence of purity and innocence in this world that has gone completely to hell. He's full of so much naive hope, and kind of this look towards the future that's full of hope and joy, and that we can fix things. And a lot of times that's tested, you know. His very positive, optimistic viewpoint of the future very much gets tested to some extremes, especially as we get to the concluding episodes of the show. And yeah, a lot of characters either try to break him, you know, to destroy his optimism, or there's characters who really try to raise him up, and, you know, like hey, I may not be very optimistic, but this little boy is so optimistic about the future that I don't want to destroy that, and I want to be a part of his optimism, you know. So yeah, Gus is the most pure, innocent, sweet little thing, you guys. His little antlers, his little ears. I love the design of his ears, because I have a feeling his ears are done by remote control, like somebody off screen is moving his ears, because his ears really reflect like his emotion. Because Christian Convery obviously is doing a lot of the acting and a lot of the emotion, but yeah, his ears are also a big part of it. Like if his ears are kind of raised up, you can tell he's happy or excited. If they're like kind of laying down, you know, he's really sad and upset. So I love his whole design. So yeah, Gus, oh my god, I just love Gus. Christian Convery, I hope he gets more jobs in the future after this show, because for a child actor, he was simply outstanding. Yeah, guys, I didn't have a single issue with his acting at any time. There were just so many moments he would make me cry. Oh my god, like cry uncontrollably. His acting was just so amazing. I loved Gus's just optimistic spirit, you know. It just raised me up and made me feel good. And yeah, whenever he was upset or he was afraid, you know, like I would just feel for him, you know. I would just feel his terror, or him being in pain or being upset. And then your other main character is Tommy Jeopard, played by Nonso Anozie. Seriously, all of the awards for Nonso Anozie, you guys. He is just such an underrated actor. And I feel like a lot of the projects that I've seen Nonso Anozie in the past, I feel like he is never really given anything good, you know, to put his acting chops to use. This show proves that Nonso Anozie is an amazing, terrific actor, I think. The character of Jeopard goes to some truly insane places. Not getting too terribly much into his backstory, you find out that Jeopard, he was a former football player before the virus happened. So he's a big guy. If you've seen Nonso Anozie, you know he is a big, gigantic guy. He looks like a football player, a big, scary football player. So yeah, who else is perfect to help Gus on his journey across America? Because yeah, that's a big part of Gus's character as we're kind of progressing through all the seasons. Gus is looking for his mother. He's looking for the origins of the virus. He's looking for a cure for the virus. So Jeopard is his muscle, you know. Jeopard is escorting Gus across America through all this hell that's going on by his side. Yeah, while having all of his own personal demons and backstory to deal with. Some things that come out kind of immediately, things that come out later. Yeah, Jeopard, oh my god. I loved his character. Easily one of the best characters on this show, you know, other than Gus, obviously. Jeopard, he will tug at your heartstrings, you guys. Another main character, we have the character of Dr. Singh, who's played by Adil Akhtar. Oh, wow, Dr. Singh. It's kind of hard because season 3 is just so fresh in my memory. It's so hard to kind of, how did I feel about Dr. Singh in season 1 compared to how I feel about Dr. Singh by the time we get to season 3? You know, and so that season 3 is so fresh in my memory, like I said. And it's like I don't want to spoil anything with his character. Dr. Singh, obviously, he's a doctor. So yeah, prior to the virus happening, he was just, you know, like a medical doctor working in a hospital. And the interesting thing about Dr. Singh over the course of this entire show is kind of this internal crisis that he's having with himself, because he was a doctor and now his profession just almost seems pointless to him at times, because when people around him are getting the virus and they're dying, he feels so useless and he feels hopeless, and he just feels like he has no control in any given situation. And the big thing with Dr. Singh with season 1, we find out that his wife has the virus, and there's a lot of interesting kind of plot threads that go on there with his wife, how he's kind of keeping her from dying off immediately, the virus consuming her, because he kind of has a method that he's using. So I love the relationship between Dr. Singh and his wife. It is huge and it's pivotal, very highly emotional. Yeah, Dr. Singh as a character, the journey he goes through as both a doctor and as a human man, you know, it goes to some crazy places, and it's hard to describe him, you know, what type of character he is, because he's not a pure good guy, he's not a pure bad guy. He's definitely one of the characters that's very much in the middle, that he is incredibly complex. He has a lot of depth and nuance to him that the show explains over 3 seasons, and he's one of the most fascinating characters in some ways for that complexity alone. And then another main character, we have Amy, played by Dana Ramirez. Amy is like holed up at a zoo, and she has a little girl that she's looking after. The little pig girl, her name is Wendy. Amy and Wendy have such a wonderful mother-daughter relationship, and back and forth and wit. I love how Amy and Wendy wind up into Gus and Jeopard's journey and their story. And then we also have Stefania Levy Owen. She plays the character of Becky, but she also goes by the name of Bear. This is what you need to know about the character of Bear/Becky. Because obviously, before the virus, there was a whole nother generation of children born right before the virus and whatnot. So the character of Becky she's part of a group that you're introduced to kind of about midway through season 1. She's part of a group of like teenagers who are like the last of the generation of just normal human kids. So what they all do, they all like dress up and like as animals, essentially. That's why she's also called Bear. Her big thing is she kind of dresses up and she has like fur and she has makeup, and yeah, she's trying to make herself look like a bear, essentially. So I love that whole dynamic with that group of kids, you know, the generation before and what this virus has done to them and their future, that they had a future but now they kind of really don't, almost, you know, how they feel lost in this world. So yeah, I love Becky as a character. Like I said, she's a teenager. She's just a few years older than Gus, pretty much, like no more than 5 years older than him. Becky, she has a rough and gruff exterior at times because she has to. She grew up in a world that was taken from her, you know. Now she's in this world that's gone to hell, and there's hybrids and there's bad people running around, you know. So Becky's a really interesting character. That she has that rough and gruff exterior, but inside there is a sweetness, and there's also trauma to her backstory. And yes, she wants to see a brighter future too, you know. She kind of has conflict, like I don't think there's ever going to be a brighter future. But yeah, through her interactions with Gus, once again, Gus is just the epitome of pureness and innocence and optimism. And yeah, Becky being around Gus, obviously bringing forth her optimism as well. So yeah, once again, no spoilers, but this is kind of one of those rare shows that Netflix, it gave it 3 seasons. It was never canceled, thank God. So this is one of those rare Netflix shows that gets to have a proper conclusion. And it's one of those rare shows as well that I think is very satisfactory. The conclusion is very satisfactory. There's no loose ends. Any questions that you had at the beginning of the show pretty much do get answered by the very end, even if there's still some ambiguity, because there's still a lot of ambiguity going on once you kind of get the origins of the virus. And is there a cure? What would that entail? What would be the sacrifice, you know, to get this cure? So there's still ambiguity and questions to a degree, but nothing that's going to be like leaving you hanging, you know. So I do think this is a very satisfying conclusion in general. All 3 seasons just absolutely amazing. I do think sometimes each season is a little bit slow going. You know, each season for about 2 or 3 episodes, it's a little bit slow going. But by the time you definitely reach that halfway point of every season, that's where you get the big things that are kind of finally twirling and moving the plot forward and moving the characters forward, where they're facing whatever the issue is, you know. Yeah, so many freaking episodes, you guys, that I cried my eyes out. Good Lord. Once again, not spoiling anything, in this last season, season 3, episode 4, you guys, if you've seen the show and yeah, episode 4, it's all on a boat. That's all I'll say. It's all on a boat. But there's some crazy things that happen on this boat. Episode 4 is probably like, of season 3 is probably my favorite episode of the entire runtime of this show. And that's saying a lot because I love every episode of the show. But boy, oh boy, damn, that episode, I had to pause a couple times and wipe my eyes because I was just crying so much. But yeah, please, for the love of God, yeah guys, if you have not seen this show, I need you to stop what you're doing and go watch it right now and give it a shot. Like I said, it's 24 episodes. The episodes, for the most part, are around about 45 minutes, so they're not really terribly long or anything. I don't think you're going to be disappointed with this show. I've not really seen anything, like people reviewing this show negatively. There's hardly any negative reviews out there about this show. For the most part, it's pretty unanimous, the love that people have for this show and how much they appreciate it. So please, stop what you're doing, watch this show. I don't think you're going to regret it. I think you're going to fall in love with these characters, fall in love with this really emotional journey, and it's definitely going to be very thought-provoking. You know, there's going to be huge moments throughout the show that are going to make you question just the future of our own world, and the show making you wonder, you know, what would I do in this situation? What type of person would I be in this type of world? So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and feelings on Sweet Tooth. I just completely adore and love this show. I'm so sad it is over. Why? It had to conclude at some point, but at least it had a conclusion. Netflix, thank you. So yeah, you guys, have any of you seen this show? If you have seen this show, by all means, feel free to talk about spoilers with me down below. If you haven't seen the show, did this video push you to go watch the show? Because I really hope it did. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.